I thought I was bad when it came to critiquing the Black community, but
Even if you're a descendant of slave, you won the slave lottery. You should be happy. Black women are a major problem. I actually think they are the problem. Why are you getting a party for being a baby mama? Here in Chicago, I don't know if this is everywhere else, but they get fed behind bulletproof glass.
why do you think Black people are so addicted to degeneracy?
But we have this thing within Black culture that we literally hate everything that is fundamentally good for us.
I believe that the people who fought during the civil rights movement deserve what we have. In Gen Z, we should be in their position.
And I realized that Black people are not being oppressed,
Africans are so conservative. They are so modest. They are so polite. I find it so concerning and weird that all his friends of his turning point, so sorry to say this, but even his wife, they're not investigating. I find it so weird. Like, why isn't everyone like hands-on trying to investigate? It's like they're just like, Charlie Kirk was murdered, let's just wash our hands, say RIP and throw a big event. That's what makes me more suspicious. So guys, I'm joined here today with Carmen Jaycee. So guys, I thought I was bad when it came to critiquing the Black community, but after coming across this content creator, the UK, you guys should be thanking me. You guys should be thanking me for how much grace I give you guys, because Carmen, Joyce, you literally just give it to them. And I feel like this is what I admire about the US. I feel like the US, you guys just don't hold back. I always say the UK is like the sword, whilst the US is like the gun. Like us UK lots, we're very like slow, polite, and we kind of take our time to offend people. Whilst people in the US, you guys are like a gun, you're like a bullet, you just go straight for the kill. So what made you actually start, being more vocal online when it comes to Black issues, political issues, and just worldwide issues?
Well, honestly, it started with me like going on this journey with myself and trying to just, figure out things within my own life and, learn about my emotions and stuff like that. And in the process, I started to realize that the Black community was being manipulated via like the Democratic Party. So then I started to look into that, and it just took me like down rabbit hole after rabbit hole of like kind of like this re-education. And I realized that Black people are not being oppressed, like because I thought that we were being oppressed, but they're raising criminals. Your children can't read. Your children can't read the book. Like, how are you applying yourself? And this is what they tell you though. It's kind of like how they say, "Oh, you teach racism." Well, this is what they teach in the Black community, that white people are doing this thing to us. And then I just realized it's so many issues that we have within our own community that we can literally do something about, but we choose to support dysfunction. We choose to engage with the most negative things about the community, and the things that are actually good, we like absolutely hate. Is kind of inverted.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like we're having the same issue here in the UK, where, a lot of Black people were being taught that we're the victims and every issue in our life is because of the British Empire that happened God knows how many years ago. And I was also a victim of that too, because obviously when you're going through these camps that we call schools and all you're being taught is socialism and Marxism, you're kind of brainwashed to believe that, oh my gosh, I am a victim and everything's the white man's fault. But it's until you start doing your own personal research, and I think, I'm not sure if you're a Christian too, but biblically as well, this whole victim mentality is quite demonic and it's very sinful as well. So when I came across your page, I was like, I love this girl. She's absolutely onto something. But I want to touch on something that happened recently. So there's a creator called Andre Williams who is almost like you as well. He highly criticizes the Black community. I'm going to insert some clips here.
Black culture is shit. Our music is violent and hostile to everything and everyone. The way we carry ourselves, we're hostile and angry at everyone. Everything about us today is angry, loud, and entitled. We feel like someone owes us something. We walk around with this chip on our shoulder, and this is why people don't want to be around us. Black people are not liked because of how we act, not because we're black. We need to wake up and fix this shit before it gets worse.
Being pro-black means that you're anti-white. Being pro-black today is not for the betterment of black people. Majority of the people that say that they're pro-black, they don't give a fuck about the black community. They only care about how they can stick it to whitey. That's the only thing that matters to these pro-black types you see. Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Umar, you name it. These people only care about how we can stick it up and show whitey that we can do this and do that, and really, we're not doing anything. Black people are more enthusiastic about impressing white people than building or doing anything successful in our own communities.
And he went to correct me if I'm wrong here, Carmen, was it an ICE rally?
He went to a No Kings rally in Detroit.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. And he was actually attacked during that rally. Literally, all the leftists, they attacked him to the ground, and he even got arrested. Now, what broke my heart was the fact that this is an actual veteran. This is someone who fought for the country. And this is the same thing that we are experiencing here in the UK, where veterans are literally being treated like chewing gum under the shoe. I mean, I saw a clip last month where one of the leftists was screaming at a veteran and said, "How many people did you kill in Afghanistan?" You do realize if it wasn't for that veteran, you would have been killed by the Taliban in Afghanistan. So what do you think has happened to society where we are so disrespectful to the most respected people? Because I don't care what a veteran has done in their past life or in the future, but if you've served for your country, if you've put your life on the line for the country, I will always have respect for you. But yet we are seeing this decline of respect for veterans in the West in general. For instance, here we are having a huge homeless issue with veterans. I mean, veterans are literally being thrown in the streets as soon as they come home. So what has happened to society where we no longer respect the respected?
Well, I think it's really just a liberal ideology where the liberals, they literally hate this country and they don't respect anything about, like, they don't care that you serve this country. They'll pretend that they care, but they really don't care. And like, as far as Andre, when it comes to Andre, because he's critiquing the Black community and he's giving them harsh critiques, they are going to celebrate if anything happens to them. And this is like what I like to point out to Black people. Like, you can't love Black people if you celebrate someone else who's Black, their downfall. If you're going to celebrate them being attacked, especially and mind you, I don't know if you know this, but Andre is 24 years old. He's a kid. And I'm not saying he's a kid in that manner. He's 24 years old. So when you put that into perspective, you should, like, what were you doing at 24? What were half of you guys doing at 24? You weren't trying to stand up for this country. You're out partying, smoking and drinking, having sex. You're not doing the things that he is doing. So you should respect someone that have the balls to go stand up for the things that he believes. But we have this thing within Black culture that we literally hate everything that is fundamentally good for us. We hate it. If you talk proper or you talk a certain type of way, they're going to tell you, well, you're talking white. And it's like, what is that? You know what I mean? So I really don't know, like, what the root of these issues are, how we're going to, like, kind of fix them. But I do know that liberals, and if when you just say liberals too, it includes, like, most of the Black people that we're speaking of, because they're all liberal, but we have a white liberal problem too, but that's neither here nor there. But it's the fact that these people hate this country. They think they're being oppressed. And I like to tell Black people, if you are here in America, and even if you're a descendant of slaves, you won the slave lottery. You should be happy. Okay, you won the slave lottery because you're here in America. Okay, you could have got dropped off in Cuba, which is a communist state. So, like, I don't know. I personally think that we won the slave lottery, and because we won the slave lottery, we should appreciate that.
Do you know what? Some people will see that as controversial, but I actually agree with this, because I've done a lot of research on African history, and prior to slavery, a lot of Africans, we were basically indulging in like paganism and Satanism and things that were just completely demonic. And obviously, we serve a very just God, and anytime you do something that goes against what God would want from us, He will punish you. Now, when it came to the Atlantic slave trade, of course, it was horrible, people being abducted, people being slaves. But I think that was God's justice to the Black community, saying, hey, look, you guys did quite a few sinful things while she was in Africa, and I need to teach you guys a lesson. But at the end of it, there's going to be a better way of life. But yet we still can't see that. We're still doing the same things, whether it's just thuggery culture, whether it's witchcraft, whether it's breaking up our families. We're repeating the same cycle that we did in Africa here in the US. And we also have the same issue here in the UK, where people who are so degenerate, like literally the worst of the worst, people who make rap music about stabbing people, girls who have OnlyFans, these rappers, female rappers who just talk about how good their pussy is, how good their boobs are, they get the most respect, they get the most accolades. And then the people who are like more conservative, someone like myself or someone like Kemi Bedenoch and another few, content creators that I know, we just get so disrespected. We're called a coon, we're called an Uncle Tom. So why do you think Black people are so addicted to degeneracy? What do you think the problem is?
Well, I think that it is a way that they kind of don't have to be accountable. So I'm not going to say it's not all Black people's fault, but it's this thing that's being sold to them. Like it's a cycle, right? So the people at the top, which is going to be your celebrities, and they're not at the top, they're the peasants of the top, right? So they do the work for the actual people at the top. These are the peasants. So the celebrities who are the peasants, but they live like kings to people who are poor, they portray this lifestyle. Everything that they do, the bottom copy. So when you think about, like you just talked about the music, about the stabbing, well, I can assure you that actual stabbings is going to occur because this is what they're feeding into their spirit, So when you feed yourself, mind you, they're feeding them McDonald's and all this low quality food, especially here in America. The food is low quality. They have low quality music. They have low quality people that they hang around. These low quality celebrities, So when everything around you is low quality, you're just going to emulate what you see, and you're going to become low quality. And this is why I try to tell people, and I don't deal in trying to hold people's hand. I tell them straight up, look, you are the problem. Okay. I meet a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people, and it all comes back to you being the problem. Like I was the problem, right? I had to look, I'm not telling you were the problem as if I've never been the problem. I had to look at myself and realize, listen, the stuff that is happening to you is happening to you because you are a problem. You know what I mean? So it's just these people at the top. You see the BBL culture that happened. And what happened? Everyone, when they got BBLs, you see like the veneer, they go get veneers. If you've seen during the pandemic, how many of these guys had these gold chains around their neck? I'm like, you guys have the slave chains right back on. Exactly. Right back on. And you're walking around with it proud and you celebrate everything that's dysfunctional. But when it comes to people actually critiquing you, actually critiquing the community and telling you about your circumstances, like here in Chicago, I don't know if this is everywhere else, but they get fed behind bulletproof glass. That is not normal. That is not normal to go to your local store, your local liquor store, your local restaurant, and them having to feed you behind bulletproof glass. And not to mention, I went into a restaurant. It had a metal, and I'm like, in a jerk chicken restaurant, a jerk restaurant. It was a jerk restaurant. They had a metal detector and a security, and I'm like, I thought I was walking into a court building. So it's just Black people refuse to look at their issues and they refuse to take criticism.
Yeah. I also saw, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the full statistics, but I believe it was after Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter riots, a lot of businesses actually left Black communities. And apparently Walmart recently left a lot of Black communities because they just kept stealing. So it's like you guys keep stealing. You guys will even film yourself stealing. You will eat the food right in front of the customer service assistant.
I'm not going to lie. This video just set the black community back 100, possibly 200 years.
In the store, gotta feed them. You gotta stop and you gotta feed them. Because one thing about me, when I'm hungry, he gonna make sure you eat.
I've been alive for 23 years and I've genuinely never seen something like this. Who in their right mind is going to take a family of 6, eat some Ruffles off of a damn Walmart floor, and feed their children ice cream cones in the middle of a Walmart aisle?
You guys will literally disrespect the customer service assistants. You guys will fight in these stores and then complain that you guys are the victims. It's absolutely insane. And I think you are a very strong critique of black women. You do not hold back when it comes to black women. And I absolutely love that, because I do believe of all the communities, all the sub-communities in the world, I feel like black women are the least accountable. We don't like to be told about our weight. We don't like to be told about our attitude. We don't like to be told about the fact that we are very, very disrespectful to men. So why do you think black women really struggle when it comes to just accountability and looking in the mirror and just being honest?
I still can't grasp why black women are the way they are. And you know what? Honestly, a lot of what I think it comes from is programming and conditioning with, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Willie Lynch letter. And people talk about like how it's fake and stuff. But if you read what's inside the Willie Lynch letter, and it talks about this woman, well, the black woman, and how you make her, hyper independent, and how she will naturally, emasculate the men, her son. She'll naturally do that if you make her hyper independent. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with black women. Black women are a major problem. I actually think they are the problem. Like, if you don't fix black women, the black culture is done. And that's what it really boils down to. Black culture is done. You can talk about all these other issues, but if black women don't have a change of heart, if we don't find a way to soften their heart, we are done. Because they're controlling. Like, if you really pay attention to the dysfunction that's happening, it is black women and it's their children. Okay, that's all the people that are doing it. Black women and their children. And they can't be corrected. You can't say anything to them. And they have this thing. I think really the problem is, let me tell you, I think it's the sisterhood. The sisterhood is a problem. Okay, they are a problem. These people who are involved in the sisterhood, they hold no accountability. They prop each other up, but they hate each other. Okay, they all hate each other. They sleep with each other's men, and you see like Love and Hip Hop. It's this like thing where they all are like, oh, but they just fight all the time, and that's what it really is. But you can't say nothing about the sisterhood, because if you say something about the sisterhood, they all gonna stop fighting with each other, and they're all gonna look at you, and they're gonna be like, what did you say about the sisterhood? And then they're gonna jump on you like a pack of hyenas. It's literally textbook of how it works. But we need black men in the home. We need black women to bow out and to allow black men to lead. And if that doesn't happen, black culture is done. I think it's done already. It's basically done. But because they don't understand, they have been neutralized. Like, you guys have been neutralized, and now you're doing the stuff to yourself. So it was a point where the government was like really doing these things to black women and black people. But now the black community have been really neutralized. They're not doing anything to them, but they're doing it to themselves now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, black women are doing these things to themselves for free. Like, for example, look at the Zeus Network. Look at shows like Baddies. And then on top of that, the UK, they also tried to do a Baddies version, but it wasn't really that receptive, because here in the UK, we've still maintained a little bit of conservatism. And another thing that annoys me is when people try to say this is black culture. This is not black culture. This is just, N-word culture. I can't swear on YouTube. Because even if you go to Africa, so my parents are actually from Congo, Africans are so conservative. They are so modest. They are so polite. They work very hard. They are very accountable. They do not make an excuse for anything. But something has happened in Western culture where all of a sudden black culture has completely shifted. It's like we are everything that, say, for example, the civil rights movement did not want. Everything that I believe that the people who fought during the civil rights movement deserve what we have, and what we are doing in Gen Z, we should be in their position, honestly, because we don't deserve what they fought for. They would be disgusted. Now, speaking of the sisterhood, I genuinely believe in this. I feel like women, we do this thing where we don't like to hold each other accountable, because I feel like women are so scared to not be seen as the girl's girl. It's like the sisterhood has become the new marriage, and I think that was kind of indoctrinated into us through movies like Cheetah Girls and Hannah Montana and the movie Friends. Like, we was literally programmed into believing that the sisterhood and the friendship group is more important than an actual relationship. And do you want to know how I know the sisterhood is so bad? Look at Cardi B. I mean, this girl got pregnant from Offset 2.0. Not only that, but this guy, he has 2 babies on the way as well. And you see women applauding Cardi B. They're saying congratulations in the comment section rather than actually condemning her and telling her, go make your family work out. Fair enough, Offset was a cheater, but it's not a good thing to cheat. But at the same time, you're now in a worse position. You went from a wife to now a baby mum. So what is it about the sisterhood, especially within Black women, where we don't like to hold each other accountable. We don't like to tell each other the truth. And we kind of basically contribute to each other's demise.
Well, I honestly think like they all hate each other, seriously. So like they're not going to hold each other accountable. They're going to keep each other close so they can make sure no one gets to surpass them or no one gets to outdo them. So I honestly think that they just hate each other. And then like if you just look at them, like they all keep having like these baby showers, right? You see them at the baby shower. There's no man in sight, okay? No man in sight. You can never find the man. And they all just get applauded. Like, why are you getting a party for being a baby mama? Like, I don't understand why we're celebrating this. Like, why are we even celebrating the fact that you're a baby mama? There's no man in sight. And then we're calling these people strong. We're calling those the strong women. It is not right. A strong woman does not look like that. That is a hurt woman. That is a broken woman. And she's doing nothing but, going to raise more than likely another criminal. And that's just the sad part about it. Child, you think you're doing great. Like they applaud themselves for motherhood, but they're raising criminals. Your children can't read. Your children can't read the book. Like, how are you applauding yourself? The same thing with we're the most educated. How? When did this happen? When I've never seen them say, hey, we need a cure for a vaccine. Let's go find a Black woman. I've never heard of them saying this. Let's go get a nice, educated Black woman. No, you guys are there to fill slots, okay? You fill slots. This is what DEI is all about. You fill slots. You're not there to be, the person that's going to save the day. That is not what Black woman is. And they just refuse to look at it because it's a form of narcissism. And not only that, it's this cult-like behavior. If you pay attention to like Black culture, it's a cult. Okay, they're in a cult. The Black women are in a cult within a cult. Okay, so these people are exhibiting cult-like behavior, and like I said, it's like this deep programming that comes from the education system. Where if you notice, all of these schools are liberals. They have liberal ideology, and they're just raising more liberals. So this is coming from the education system, and not to mention that they just teach them all lies. They teach Trayvon Martin was a lie, but they still believe the lie. They don't want to look at it for what it is. And then George Floyd lied. They lied. Okay, they lied about these people, and we still constantly just believe the lie and not want to be accountable. It's like, I don't know. I think people feel like if they're no longer the victim, then they're really going to have to be accountable. I'm really going to have to take responsibility for my life.
Yeah, no, that's another thing, in the sense that we hate each other, honestly. And I know this because I'm not sure if you know the TikToker Kane. She's like the most degenerate thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, she's constantly showing videos of her being beaten up by her boyfriend. She's constantly getting pregnant. She brags about having like 12 abortions. She's bragged about, having trains run on her, but you see Black women flocking to support her. I'm just like, and I think what I really want Black people to understand is when we say these things, we're not saying these things to belittle you guys. We're saying these things because, like you and I both said at the beginning of this video, is that we held ourselves accountable. We said, listen, I'm the problem in my life and I'm going to fix it. And I just wish more and more Black people do that. And another thing is that we like to blame things on white supremacy. It's not a matter of white supremacy. It's just other races have mastered things that have been known to be good, for example, having a family, having a job, raising your kids, keeping your father in the home, not twerking whilst your child is singing happy birthday. These are things that, for example, white people do. You know, white people, they marry from young. A lot of white girls, they go to college just to marry. A lot of white people, they keep their families together. A lot of white people, they listen to country music. They go to church on Sundays. They are nice to people. They say please and thank you. They sit down and they watch like soaps and operas, and they don't watch baddies and all these degenerate shows. That's why they are doing better than the black community. And it's the same thing with the Chinese community, the Jewish community. They just don't indulge themselves in degeneracy, but for some reason we do. Another problem that we are facing in the black community is obviously black churches. I feel as though black churches just look like the Glee Club these days. It's just theatre, it's just performance, it's just gay. It has nothing to do with the gospel, it has nothing to do with Christianity. So do you also think that the demise of black churches have also led to the demise of the black community?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think that the black churches are actually like where they go to, and it's another form of indoctrination. So, like, if you think about like when Planned Parenthood came about, they used the pastors to tell women that it was okay to get abortion, and
I
they
just
do the
thought,
same thing now with the Rainbow Coalition. They do the same thing, and they use these churches as indoctrination camps. And not only do that, but if you pay attention to who go to church, there's a lot of single black women, a lot of black women who are never going to find a man. So it's literally that's their demographic, and these are the women that pay out to the church. So they are literally using that as a manipulation tactic or a manipulation tool for them. Now, I'm not saying that all churches are bad. I think some churches out there probably do have a good intent and they do want to preach the word of God. But I think when it comes to black churches, like you see them on every corner, like even where I am, I'm in a black neighborhood. Their churches, it's like 5 churches within like a 0.2 mile radius. It's literally like a whole bunch of churches. So it's another scheme. And black people don't take black culture seriously. So it's like they just fall right into all of these traps and then they blame the government. Like, oh, it's somebody doing the thing. No, you keep falling into the system is set up a certain way that if you're dumb enough to fall for what the system is doing, or if you don't educate yourself on what the system is, then of course you're going to fall into these traps. It's because you're ignorant. It's not because the system, it's because you're ignorant. But if you educate yourself, then you would know that it's something wrong with black churches. It's the reason why they're always asking me for money. I went to one and I was so uncomfortable. And it wasn't even a fully black church. It was kind of mixed, but I was just so uncomfortable because they were like giving these testimonies like, hey, this person gave this amount of money and their lives was changed. And I'm like, whoa, I don't want to give money just to like it's like a if you give me this, I'll give you this. And I didn't like that. It didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel sincere. And I want to have a beautiful relationship with God that have nothing to do with money, and all to do with my heart and how I treat people and how I serve him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like when it comes to giving money to the church, one thing my dad, who's a pastor, has always taught us was that obviously the church isn't like it needs money in order to stand on its feet. So that's why you should give money to the church. But he's never gone about it in the sense that if you want a miracle, if you want marriage, if you want this, then you have to give money. It's very unrealistic. And this is another thing that's holding back the black community. For instance, you have a woman, she's overweight, she's going to church every Sunday telling the pastor, I can't find a husband, I can't find a husband. Rather than the pastor just telling her, you're overweight, he will tell her, oh, you need to pray more, you need to fast more, you need to give more money. No, it's the same thing with a divorcee. The divorcee will come to a pastor and say, I don't know what to do about my marriage, I'm struggling. The pastor will tell her, oh, I had a vision that you have another husband, or this person is not your husband. No, that's not how it works. The Bible says that once you're in a covenant, you should not unlock that covenant. So I feel like the black church is also contributing to the demise of the black community. I'm very curious about this. Martin Luther King. A lot of people have been coming out and exposing Martin Luther King. I thought Martin Luther King was literally his name, a king in our community. But a lot of people are saying that he was actually a Marxist and a socialist, and he did more to harm, the black community. So do you have like any wisdom on that at all?
Well, yeah, I know a little bit about Martin Luther King, and yeah, I would say that he was not a man of good character. And I think that we have this idea that we look at people and we are giving these fairy tales. I don't know how else to describe it about these people. And we don't do the work for ourselves. So we're like, if we read it in a textbook, it must be true. It's a reason why they prop up Martin Luther King, but not so much Malcolm X, right? And it's because Malcolm X taught self-help. He taught get up and do it for yourself. And Martin Luther King was more about, protesting and getting, the help from the government and having these institutions help us. But really, like, a lot of people don't know that, like what you said about the communists, they started surveilling Martin Luther King because he started having ties to communists. Okay. So once he started doing that, this is where the surveillance came from. This is because he used to go to the White House a whole lot. He was really cool with JFK. And they start surveilling him, and they realized, and it wasn't just him, it was multiple people, but they realized, like, this guy is pretty, like, he's not a great guy. He's cheating on his wife. He's having sex with multiple people. He's having orgies. He's doing all this stuff. And, Black people, we don't want to acknowledge that. Like Martin Luther King, when he was in college, I believe, he was in love with a white woman. That was his first love. He wanted to marry this white woman, but it wasn't good for his brand. It wasn't good for his image. And he was like, if you pay attention, they dropped the Reverend Martin Luther King off his name. And like, he was a person that was in the church, because they know the church is the leader of the community, and they know you're going to follow behind the church, because they try to use, God to manipulate you. And he eventually dropped that because he probably didn't really believe anything he said. It's allegations that he watched a rape happen. It's allegations of all type of things when it comes to Martin Luther King. And I'm not saying that he was just 100% bad, but I'm saying that we should start looking at people's moral character that are leading us, because their moral character, it plays a role. You can't act like you're this person and you're not, walking the walk. So
Yeah.
he was he was pretty he was pretty
I just don't
not
know
good
what
for the
to
Black
believe
community.
anymore. I genuinely don't know what to believe. I feel like everything I've been taught has just been a lie, because here in the UK, we hail Martin Luther King as like the leader of equality and peace and obviously civil rights. But to hear all of this, I'm absolutely shocked. Obama, do you think Obama was a force for good or a force for bad for the Black community?
Obama was obviously a super force for the bad. Actually, Obama kind of implemented a lot of the stuff that you're seeing today with like the LGBTQ. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that started like allowing the children, the boys in the girls' bathroom. A lot of those policies, they came in through Obama. So he started this whole LGBTQ movement. He's the one that legalized gay marriage, if you remember. Obama, he repealed the Smith Modernization Act, which was an act that prevented them from basically propagandizing us. And now they're able to propagandize us, and they could just lie. Like, and if you see how Obama was propped up, Obama, he didn't come and win it organically. It looked organic, but it wasn't organic. He came in and he started like contesting all of these, like he did like all these loopholes where like when you run for office, you have to have like a certain amount of signatures. You have to have like all of these like stipulations to be able to run. Well, he went and like, challenged these people on certain things, like signatures. And then he was able to win the state Senate. And then when he was running, no, he was able to win was it a senator seat, Illinois senator seat, I believe. And then he went and he was like, when he was running against these guys, he would like stuff would come out like, oh, this person's wife was beat by him. Like all of this stuff would start coming out. So he like was kind of like, knocking them off, like, but in a like a corporate way. He was knocking everybody off instead of rather like competing against them fairly. So he got propped up. He had all of the backing, Facebook, all of these bigger major corporations that was backing him. So all of the people who was that caused the crash in 2008 when he was elected, it happened before Obama was elected. Well, all of those people backed Obama, and they all got their money back. And the middle class had suffered. Black people lost, I think, about 44% of their wealth. So Obama, yeah, he lied about a lot of things. Even the Trayvon Martin case, he got on there and said, if I had a son, he looked like Trayvon, and he knew the details of that case. He knew, like, they lied so much. I don't know if you've ever seen my Trayvon Martin episode, but they lied so much about Trayvon Martin. It is ridiculous. It is disgusting. It is so horrible. So yeah, I think Obama was another one of those black faces that Malcolm X talked about. And he said they'll send a black face to get you to do all these things, but yeah, don't trust him either. So people love Obama. They're not going to stop loving them. I tell people this all the time, and then they're like, I'm the crazy one, because they don't want to go look into it for themselves. So I don't know.
Obama did more for the gay community than he did the black community, and that's completely evident. I mean, the black community has not progressed, but the gay community definitely has. So the big topic in the West these days is mass migration. Here in the UK, I feel like migration in the US hasn't caused, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it hasn't caused massive change just because the US is such a huge country. However, here in the UK, if you search up Bradford, Dagenham, Housden, and even London, the UK looks unrecognizable. I kid you not, the West is starting to look like the third world. For example, if you go to France, Paris literally looks like a ghetto. So mass migration is clearly changing the face of many European and Western countries. So what is it like in the US, specifically with ICE? How are people receiving ICE and Donald Trump's plans to basically end mass migration? Not end mass migration,
yeah, I would
control it.
say, well, as far as like Donald Trump and the migration, I think it actually, like, we're not seeing it like to the point where everybody is seeing like a major change. Like, you're seeing the culture change in your community. There is a lot more violence. The Trinidad Agras, they have this gang that this is a very violent gang that they let into the US. Like, someone was just literally beheaded in the US, like their head cut off by an illegal immigrant. And I think that we're not seeing like the change, whereas to like, like it's super like crime has skyrisen, like skyrocketed. Oh my God. We haven't seen that type of thing, but it is dramatically different. Like, the US is kind of big, and they are putting these illegal aliens, and not even just illegal aliens, migrants, all throughout. Like, they're separating them into like these major cities like Chicago. And you are seeing a change in the culture. But as far as illegal immigration, I think a lot of Black people really don't agree with illegal immigration, which I am with Black people. Like, I'm like, yes, finally, because it's like they're seeing what's happening. A lot of people that I know are liberal, they're liberal, but they're like, no, I don't like this immigration problem and this whole due process thing. They're like, oh, give them due process, but you can't really give them due process because that'll take years. It's like 20 million people came into this country. You know how long that would be to get all of them through a court case for if they're going to stay or not. That would be horrible for our system. So I definitely think it's a change. I think people like some people like what Donald Trump is doing. I think the people that don't like what Donald Trump is doing is the people that don't live in these neighborhoods.
Yeah. And that's another thing I find so difficult for people when I see people countering mass migration and saying that we're racist for calling it out. I just can't make sense of it. Like, if you can't say, for example, here in the UK, you can't say someone who has come from like the gully of Somalia is as British as, a British born, well, an English born person here in England. But what has happened here in the UK, someone can come from like the gullies of Somalia or the gullies of, I don't know, Sudan, and they automatically get the same privileges. In fact, they're receiving more privileges. For instance, I saw a case where a man tried to abduct a girl. Obviously, I'm not sure if you're aware, but here in the UK, we've had this whole grooming case where we have basically Pakistani migrants assaulting, drugging, and grooming thousands of girls all over the UK. And our government tried to cover it up as well. And obviously, there was this one migrant who tried to assault a child, and he got 2 years. And then you have this English woman who wrote a tweet saying that we should, something along the lines of that we should, burn the hotels, or we should get rid of these people who keep assaulting these children. She got 2 years as well. So imagine 2 years for a tweet and 2 years for assaulting a child. Like, how does that make sense? That person should have been deported. Another person who's been very, very vocal on mass migration is Charlie Kirk. And obviously, till this day, even after his death, people don't even have enough graciousness to just say RIP and keep it pushing. They're bringing up all of these different talking points that he had on mass migration and calling him a racist. So as an American, do you think Charlie Kirk was a racist?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I don't
sorry.
think he was a racist at all. I actually worked with an organization that worked under Charlie Kirk. So I was at his event in July. I went to the Student Action Summit, and then they have the Brexit Liberation Show. So I actually work with them, and I work with them often, and I do reaction videos for Brexit, which is, like I said, it's under Turning Point. So yeah, I love Charlie Kirk. I love what he did. I think Charlie Kirk is someone that saw that there was a problem with his culture, much like how we have a problem with Black culture. He got up and he did something about it. Now you don't have to agree with all his points. I agree with a lot of what he says because it's kind of undebatable. You can't debate these points. They're facts. Facts cannot be disputed. And I absolutely love him. So yeah, Charlie Kirk was an amazing person. He loved God, he loved his family, and he loved his country. What else could you what could you ask for a person?
Yeah. And speaking of Brexit, obviously Candace Owens has been very, very, very I wouldn't even say critical, but she's just been going full force when it comes to investigating Charlie Kirk's murder. And a lot of people are criticizing her. And I'm so confused and I'm so shocked because it's like, why would you be surprised? We've always known Candace Owens to be, she's basically the CIA. She's going to look into everything. Not only that, this is her friend, and yet you have people calling her anti-Semitic, people calling her, clout hungry. I even saw that someone called her a Satanist. And I don't understand. So from your personal standpoint, you don't have to share your opinion if you want to, but what do you make of Candace Owens's current investigation of Charlie Kirk? Do you think she's just a friend trying to figure out what happened to her friend? Or do you think she is using this as, a way to just drive more subscribers to her channel?
I absolutely think that Candace have integrity, and I think that she is a person that, like I said before she even started investigating it, I said that she was going to investigate this. And if anybody I was going to listen to about this was going to be Candace Owens. I know she would never lie to cover something up, or she wouldn't take money because she has good moral character. I think the people that are attacking her are people who believe what they see in headlines. I watch all of Candace Owens episodes. I watch her in context fully. She actually helped change my life. I would never say anything negative about Candace Owens. I don't care what the case is. She helped change my life. I love to listen to her. Anybody can tell me something about Candace Owens. I can tell you what she actually said because I watched her in context. So that they could try to spin things. She said she had a dream that Charlie Kirk came to her. Yeah, well, 5 seconds before she said that, she also provided you proof of her having a different dream and her friend telling her friend that she was going to have a kid, and she showed you the proof. And I've had dreams like that. They try to oh, she's a Looney Tune. Like, no, this is the thing. You're trying to make people that are normal out to be Looney Tunes, and it doesn't work. I've had dreams where they're like prophetic dreams. So you're not going to convince me that she's a weirdo because she said she had a dream. That is actually the most normal thing she said.
And it's so insane to me because she's the only person that's provided proof. We've seen the text messages. We've seen, she's provided evidence. Not only that, but it's like, I find it so concerning and weird that all his friends, whether it's Turning Point, so sorry to say this, but even his wife, they're not investigating. I find it so weird. Like, why isn't everyone like hands-on trying to investigate? It's like they're just like, Charlie Kirk was murdered. Let's just wash our hands, say RIP, and throw a big event. That's what makes me more suspicious. And when they try to silence Candace Owens, that's what makes me more and more suspicious. And say what you want about Candace Owens, I don't agree with everything that she says, but one thing you can say is that she's a woman with integrity. She's just not going to accept money just for the sake of having money. She's more committed to the truth than she is to money. So yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on that. But Carmen, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of you, taking out the time to interview with me. If you can just let my subscribers know, where can they find you on all platforms?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Carmen Jaycee on all platforms. I'm pretty sure my handle is pretty much the same. It's not that many Carmen Jaycee. So I'm mostly on YouTube. I post like 4 or 5 times a week, depending. Not 4 or 5, 3 or 4 times a week. I want to be realistic. on YouTube for sure. And I post every so often on Instagram when I see things that I want to rant about. So I'll do my rants on Instagram and I post on YouTube. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Carmen.